quite clear.
Priorities, I guess. Yeah, priorities. My wife would know better than expect me to be there, but she's probably listening right now.
And ladies and gentlemen, after 4 hard-fought days of play, we are down to our final 2 teams here in the Dave Jones Mayflower Cashspiel presented by Stanhope Simpson Insurance and Alexander Keith's Brewery. And I'm John Seidman, joined alongside for the call by Selena Thompson for the men's final between Scott McDonald, the world number 16, versus Jamie Murphy, the Nova Scotia champion and world number 36. We'll quickly run down the teams. The Team Murphy out of Halifax, the lead is Phil Crowell. The second, though it's listed there as Scott Zachary, we've been informed that it is Chris McCrae who will be coming into that curling from Team Kendall Thompson. He will be sparing in for Scott Zachary. The third is Paul Fleming, and the skip is Jamie Murphy. And Team McDonald out of Kingston, Ontario, their lead is Scott Chadwick. Their lead is Wesley Forget. Their third is Jonathan Book. And their skip is Scott McDonald. As we welcome Selena for the call, looks like it's going to be a good one between these two teams. Very experienced and really playing well throughout this week here at the Mayflower.
Sure thing. We just see them getting ready through a couple practice stones, getting ready to throw. Of course, Team Murphy on a little bit of a roll. They did very well at the Grand Slam Masters last weekend in Truro, quarterfinalists there. A big event to be playing at in front of huge crowds and lots of TV viewers. And then to come to this week, they're so far undefeated. Of course, 2 games under their belts already today with wins this morning against Jason Vaughn. And then this afternoon was against Scott Webb, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that would be correct there. So for the road to the final there for Murphy, it was over Colin Thomas, Martin Crete, and Francois Gagne to qualify for the playoffs, and then defeated Jason Vaughn earlier today, 6-3, and then a 7-6 win, a nail-biter win over Scott Webb of Alberta to qualify, as we see Scott Chadwick starting it off here for Team McDonald. Team Murphy will have the last rock playing the Red Stones in this first end of play.
And Team Murphy with the last rock throughout the tournament up until the playoffs. It's determined by a draw to the button, but playoff hammer is determined by your standings coming in. So Murphy qualifying through the A bracket, earning the right to last rock, and I suspect rock color as well.
Yes, I heard a few of the players on both teams throughout the break in between the games just talking about the rock color, so I believe that would be a factor in that ranking as well, as we see this first stone here from Phil Kroll. Going for the hit to the nose.
So no corner guard there from Phil, just keeping it clean for Jamie. This is very typical of what will happen in a final. We'll see the teams kind of get nerves out of the way, although I'd argue that maybe not a ton of nerves for either of these teams. They're used to playing in high-pressure situations. We will also have the women's final joining us, although we will be featuring the men's, but we'll try and keep you updated on that women's final as you see them getting ready to throw their practice. That's Team Jill Brothers versus Team Veronica Smith.
And that should be a good game, of course. Brothers, the multi-time Nova Scotia champion, playing off against the young junior team, jumping up into the women's circuit there. Veronica Smith out of Prince Edward Island, who had a very strong game in our feature game in the previous draw, knocking off Tanya Hilliard 9-0.
But she'll run into a little bit of a force to be reckoned with in Jill Brothers, 3-time defending champion of this event.
Oh, for sure, yes, she has had a really good run the past few years in this event. So it will be a battle in both of our feature games here, as we see this second stone here from Kroll going for the corner guard.
And I've seen this probably in more games than not, the setup. Team without hammer throwing a rock to a good position in front of the house, then we see a hit from the team with hammer, then a hit, and oftentimes you get a little bit of a roll when you're making those hits. And so Jamie with last rock deciding to put up the corner guard on the second stone, and this is the 5-rock rule coming into play. Of course, that stone cannot be peeled, and Jamie's satisfied that the rock that you see, the yellow Team McDonald stone on the side of the 4-foot, isn't as much of a threat as something in the top 4, so that's the reason for the corner guard.
So for some of our viewers who may be tuning in for the first time this weekend, a reminder once again that we are playing 8 ends of play here. Of course, untimed, as we do not have time clocks in these events, unlike the provincial events or national events that you may be used to seeing. And if we are tied at the completion of that, we would go off to an extra end. And of course, as Selena mentioned, 5-rock rule is in play, meaning that the stones in the free guard zone cannot be taken out of play until after the 5th rock of the end. As we see this first stone here from Chris McRae, the first stone for him this weekend there, as he is sparing in for Scott Zachary.
Yeah, I've seen him watching a couple games. Of course, Chris's team, you mentioned he plays for Kendall Thompson, and Kendall and third Bryce are currently on day 1 of the mixed nationals in Winnipeg, alongside Marie Christensen and Carly Jones, and they happen to represent Mayflower, so we wish them well, and we will be watching. And if you're following the Mayflower Curling Club on Facebook, you can keep tabs. We'll be posting updates on how they're doing, and hopefully they'll get to see some of their games broadcast as well. We'd like to shout out special thank you right now to the Curling Store for sponsoring the broadcast, and Strong Coffee Media and 45 North for bringing it to you. Sean and Chuck in the booth with our wonderful camera action. So I'm sure the viewers are very happy, just as we are, to be able to present this to you.
Yeah, definitely. And it's been our pleasure throughout the weekend to bring you some great action to our viewers across Canada and around the world through the CBC Sports live stream and on YouTube on the World Curling Tour. As we see a second stone here from Chris McRae, going for the hit, will get it, goes over the side.
And we have a correction, and I want to say thank you to Mark McDonald for chiming in on YouTube. David Staples subbing for Wes. So I've probably been saying that wrong the whole time. But thank you.
Now that I think of it, I actually just remember hearing there that their usual second, Wesley, if I remember correctly, is competing at the mixed one as well.
Oh, there we go. Thank you very much, Mark.
So thank you very much for the correction there. So David Staples at second stone. As we now see Jonathan Book onto third stones here. Sweepers just dusting it a little bit.
Not a lot of choices here for the team without hammer. They are sitting one in the 4 foot, but there is a tight Murphy counter. They don't really want to hit that and risk jamming. That guard just over curling. And this is the play they were trying to block.
Not quite.
Paul Fleming up for Team Murphy. Paul doesn't have to run the red back onto the 4 foot yellow, but the important thing is to stick the shooter around.
Hey, we can't get both reds on with like a peel weight over curl on the yellow, can we? Can we get both reds on the rings on a peel weight over curl on the yellow? Okay.
So just looking at those 2 reds there, I think that's what he was looking at.
Yeah, so the thrown stone is a red rock. Paul, very, very experienced, I think 2 mixed national titles under his belt. Throwing up weight, maybe chipping off that yellow that's overlapping the red, touching the red on the way by, rolling the shooter in. So most of the momentum would come off on the yellow stone, chip the red. I think Jamie thinks that's not there, so he's just going to play the split.
So as you say there, Paul Fleming, a very experienced player. I believe it's 8 appearances at the Tim Hortons Brier for Fleming, multi-time national champion in the mixed, and of course a 2005 Brier finalist alongside Sean Adams.
Paul's a solid player all around, contributes in many ways to every team that he's on, and a lot of experience and a little bit of a calm demeanor too, I think.
And a great supporter of curling at all levels. He was a great supporter of junior curling through the Polar Express Junior Bonspiel that he started, which takes place in December here at the Mayflower.
I think he threw appropriate amount of weight on that just through the rings and didn't come up enough, so a bit straight there. We have seen a bit of surprise to some of the players, depending on how you throw the stone, the weight, the rotation, how you release it, being a little finicky on that center line, hanging on the line and then crossing once it's gone. So that one hung.
And that was one of the things that we did see during our previous feature game between Veronica Smith and Tanya Hilliard, where that area was a little bit finicky on the speed there, so it was something that was a challenge. You mentioned a bit
greasy maybe? A
little bit greasy there, yeah. As we see that stone come to rest at center line, sitting shot stone, it is Scott McDonald at the back of the 4.
I wonder if there's a way Paul can kind of wiggle in, play really thin off the yellows and wiggle the red in. This is a patient call here.
What, the red, yellow? Yeah, okay.
Just clean things up. Don't have to get shot stone. Still 2 stones remaining for them after this.
So big weight here from Fleming. McRae working on it here.
Looks like we have an over curl there. That was the opposite of what Paul just threw, and the tighter ice on that side of the center line got the over curl. They wanted to roll the opposite way and lose 2 of those guards.
So that will now bring the teams down here to skip stones. Scott McDonald, again, world number 16, a big winner there a few weeks ago at the Challenge to Curling de Gatineau. 7-3 winner over Charlie Thomas of Alberta. Took home $11,000 with that big win. And he's been on tour a lot so far this season. 43 games under his belt on the World Curling Tour this 2018-19 season.
It's only November 4th.
Yeah, you could swear he was on since August.
Probably has been.
So first of two here from McDonald. Staples and Chadwick working on it here.
That is what it takes, though, isn't it, John? A lot of games, a lot of practice, a lot of time on the road. These teams do tour.
And, of course, they're all working hard at getting their points and everything so that they can earn the right to hopefully get into provincials and represent their province at the Tim Hortons Brier. Of course, the 2019 Brier taking place in Brandon, Manitoba. So, of course, Murphy, the defending Nova Scotia champion, a very hard field up in Ontario, of course, with many top teams from around the World Curling Tour, all based out of that province. So, McDonald will be looking to prove himself throughout the season to earn his spot in the tankard up there.
With Scott on his last throw there, he wanted to tuck a piece more than that. Actually gives Jamie an out. Jamie didn't have much of a shot at the shot Yellowstone, but he's got a double now. So be careful on this center line, though.
So here we go from Jamie Murphy. Big weight here going forward. The double. Gets a hit over the top and then right out there. So clean house there for Murphy.
Not sure if they were trying to play that a little thicker and stick the shooter out front. Either way, good shot to have cleared that 4 foot. So pressure's on Scott now to make a good draw and prevent a blank. If he can sink this, the steal is in the cards.
Absolutely.
Might be hard to bury without being behind the tee line, but he's okay with that. Even if it's a force, if he forces Jamie to make a draw for 1, that's good result for Scott McDonald without coming into this with hammer. So that's his last shot here. 1 more to come from Jamie Murphy, looking for the draw.
As Lena mentioned, final stone here for Scott McDonald without last rock playing yellow to skip out of Kingston. Looking to bury this around the guard. Staples and Chadwick working on it. As far as you can get it, boys, that's what the call is. And that is a really good sweep there from Chadwick and Staples to get it right behind the guard and put the force on for Jamie Murphy to have to take a single.
Just about the best Scott could have done, I think. It's forcing Jamie to play the draw. There's no blank here, so he'll just outdraw that in the 4 foot.
So final stone here in end number 1, Jamie Murphy, the defending Deloitte Tankard champion out of Nova Scotia, facing 1 yellow counter here. McRae and Crow working on it early. Just waiting for it to come down a bit.
Jonathan's working on that to get it to roll a little bit, and looks like it hung around. Got the broom raise from Paul, so I think that'll be 1 for Team Murphy, and good shot there, nicely judged from the sweepers. And they'll lead this 1-0 after the first.
And Scott McDonald will have the last rock in end number 2, playing the Yellow Stones. Again, don't forget to get involved in the conversation about these 2 finals. Of course, you can send us a comment on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @JohnSeitman. And you can also chime in on the conversation on our YouTube live chat on the World Curling Tour YouTube channel. So would love to hear from you. We've heard from viewers from around Canada, the United States, and around the world. So hopefully,
I had a Minnesota earlier and somewhere in Europe earlier. It's nice that people are chiming in.
I've had Michigan. I've had.
Oh, sorry, it was Michigan. Yeah.
I've had Alberta. I've had
Yes.
my friend from Saskatchewan who's down in Arizona at the U.S. Open of Lawn Bowls. So.
I'm not surprised it was a lawn bowling friend, John.
Yeah.
Outside of curling, and probably even to a larger extent than curling, John's into the bowls.
Yeah, I was very fortunate this summer to be at the Junior National Championship for lawn bowls for a 6th time. So
wow.
Very exciting stuff, and many of them also curlers as well in their provinces. One of our under 25 representatives was a under 18 champion out of Alberta.
Nice.
So he was there at the Nationals at one point, and as well one of our under 25 women's as well.
So
as we see his first stone here from Chadwick.
Chadwick throws. You see the Ontario and Nova Scotia flags being represented behind the curlers. We like to have the flags for all of the provinces that are represented. Had them up, but only 2 remain. Battle of the East.
As both teams fight it out for that grand prize of $4,000 and the title of the Dave Jones Mayflower Cashspiel champion, presented by Stanhope Simpson Insurance and Alexander Keys Brewery.
So we got the first stone in from Phil Kroll, corner guard from Scott Chadwick. Phil throwing. I think the call was a little tap here.
Not touching it yet, so.
A little hot, I think. Hitting that with some strength. Shooter will roll in, though. Don't really want that one behind the tee line. It's nice to have 2 stones in the rings, though.
So
love those to be lined up.
Shot stone right on the back of the Orange Theory Fitness logo. I guess you'd call that little thing a bloop, or I don't know.
I'll make you keep guessing. I know what it is. It's the splat.
Oh, it's a splat.
And so Scott confirming that stone is in, of course, with the 5-rock rule. If the top one was not in, it could not be removed from play, but it is just nibbling the 12-foot. So the other Scott, Chadwick, will remove it. This one wide. We've seen, like you said, little maybe greasy up the center line path, but in terms of throwing hits out wide, that little bit of extra weight is actually causing stones to float and stay straight. So teams being careful, usually bringing the weight down for those hits on the wings.
So 1 stone there of Jamie Murphy's there, sitting at the back of the 4.
Can't remove the corner guard.
Not yet, as this is the 5th stone of the end.
So this call is to split the house. Trying to leave no doubles, or at least so steep that the double would be very difficult. Paul's not following this one. I think he thinks it's through.
We'll start to go through the house, so right out the other side and still sitting 1 is Jamie Murphy.
So David Staples will look here to use the corner guard that was thrown. It's always nice when you see those corner guards used instead of abandoned.
So Book and Chadwick working on it here.
They're playing to the backing now. I think the sweeper's saying it's a little heavy, so they're not going to get that finish. So trying to, the line call was to get the rock to actually stay on the nose, over curled a little bit, of course.
So expecting, sounds like there will be a lot of weight coming here, if I heard it correctly. Big weight here from McCray.
Looking for the hit, might lose the back one, but that's okay. Keep one red around would be the goal. Now Jamie wants to make sure that yellow leaves. The shooter looks like it buried behind the guard, which is a benefit.
Yeah, will sit behind the guard. So shot stone still remains Jamie Murphy.
That moved a little, actually. 6 feet more than you just threw. I think it'll come down to 4.
Now looking from here, that rock's buried. Scott seems to think that David can get at it with board. We did see some good movement there with maybe a little bit down normal weight from Chris. So watch the line very closely on this one.
Yeah, Chadwick and Book.
And you watch
being very
Buke,
careful here.
now he's sweeping to get it to Curl. They wanted to be tighter to the guard, but will they jam it? Yes.
And as some of our viewers may have seen there with the sweeping style, that is the directional sweeping style that has been popularized a lot over the past year to 2 years. There are it started a lot on the high levels of the World Curling Circuit, and just seems that now it's pretty commonplace. The team's using a lot of the science of which side you need to sweep on to get the result you want.
Seems like that's been around for years and years, but it's really only a couple years old.
Yeah.
Directional sweeping, but teams are very used to it. Although you do still see when they really need to go for line that both sweepers will still go on it.
And there will still always be a little bit of confusion sometimes depending on how experienced the team is with that type of sweeping.
Teams are getting better at it though. You just tend to have the sweeper sweeping for line always be the automatic sweeper, and unless the skip says otherwise. Wouldn't put the second sweeper on for line. Murphy sits 2 here. Back of the house, still not a huge risk to score for Team McDonald, but they're looking, if things stay this way with a split house, they might get forced. So they'd like to try and put this one around the corner guard in a higher spot in the house so it can't be removed, and try and set up the deuce.
Curling a lot here. Just need to get it by. It will. Where will it come to rest? Will come to rest on the corner, sitting second shot.
That's a pretty good result. They would have liked that higher in the rings, but to be on the corner of the red's all right. So Paul Fleming doesn't have much of an option. Can't see that to hit it. We'll have to freeze to it and try and close down the scoring area. We'll use that phrase a lot, and what that means is to reduce the size of the scoring area. Of course, if you're familiar with curling, only at the end of the end when the score is taken, the stones from the team that are closer than any of the other opponent's stones count. So if there are a bunch of red in the 8-foot, well, only the stones in the 4-foot will count, and that makes the scoring area smaller. Is that an okay description?
Yeah, I think that would be an okay description.
A little strong there from Paul, though, so opportunity here. I guess that's another phrase we use a lot, isn't it, John?
Absolutely.
Opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. Who can capitalize?
I think the amount of broadcasts that I've done, at least for curling there, some of our viewers may be familiar with me saying that word a few times.
Let's see if Jonathan can capitalize on that opportunity, make the hit, and roll a little bit to the wings.
Get over there, gets the hit. We'll roll over to the side. We'll sit 1-2.
That's a great shot. Well managed by the team. Control weight. Knew that if they threw anything more, would probably track and not get the movement. Wouldn't be able to control it with sweeping.
Just an update as Jamie goes down to the hack for his first of two. Veronica Smith, the team out of Prince Edward Island, a 1-0 lead over Jill Brothers. After one end of play, they're just close to finishing the second end, so we'll keep you up to date.
So Jamie doesn't have much of a choice here. Unlike on Paul's attempt where he was drawing around the guard, Jamie's going to hit the open one. There's no point risking giving up a 3, playing around the guard. So this is just the hit on the open stone that was just thrown. Might be a little more weight than Jonathan threw.
Yeah, does hit and rolls over to the side.
It was important to keep that one shot over the yellow if it is, and it looks like it just hung on, or I'm not sure, maybe it didn't.
Yeah, it's one of those angles there. If it were me, I kind of see a little bit more blue on the side of the red, so maybe it would be the yellow. It is close. It's tough to tell from our camera angles. But either way, it looks like McDonald making up his mind to play down to that stone.
So it's either obviously the red stone or too close to tell, but I think this is just a draw tap. If Scott were to hit that red stone, that may or may not be shot, I'm assuming the red is shot. If he were to hit that, I don't know if Jamie would have, it'd be a cross house, long way to try and get both yellows out, but I think this is just to give himself a bit of backing. He could hit this stone, but he'd need to roll in.
So as we see the stone here from Scott McDonald, looking to come down to that stone at the 8.
If they were sure yellow was shot over the red, they'd be drawing around that corner guard trying to set up for a 3-ender.
Absolutely. So it's just that little bit of indecision as to whether the red is the counting stone. Looking to be sure. Stables and Chadwick. Just looking for the tap, so it's going to need to curl just out a little bit there, just enough. We'll tap it back enough. We'll sit 1-2.
So now it's for sure 2 yellow, and for Jamie Murphy, he's going to have to probably just peel out that yellow and leave a shot for 2. The other option is, I don't know if he ever would want to hit that on the inside and try and squeeze the yellow out. This is the lower risk play is straight peel. You can give up 2. You don't want to risk giving up 3 by playing something so tough to try and force that you end up giving up the 3. Only in the second end here.
So on to this final stone here from Jamie Murphy without the last rock. Going for the peel. McRae and Crow working on it. Will peel out. Leave a draw to the 8-foot for the deuce.
So well done from Jamie. That's about all he could do. He didn't really have a chance on either of his shots to do anything this end. He was just kind of managing the other team and making sure they only scored 2 instead of 3.
So McDonald readying for the throw here. Final stone in end number 2. Scott McDonald out of Kingston. looking for the 8-foot for his deuce to take the lead in this match. Staples and Chadwick working on it here, just dusting it a little bit, making sure.
Just needs full 8.
Comes right in, will draw to the side of the button to score his deuce to take a 2-1 lead. After 2 ends of play, Jamie Murphy will have the last rock in end number 3 playing the Redstones. I will mention as we get started with this third end, looks like the force will be on over in our women's final as Veronica Smith out of PEI is sitting 4. Going into Jill Brothers' last rock.
So as Scott Chadwick throws his first stone here in the third end for Team Scott McDonald, we want to remind you that you are watching the 2018 Dave Jones Mayflower Cashspiel, presented by Stanhope Simpson Insurance and Alexander Keith's Brewery, and partnering sponsor Rockhead Wine and Beer Market. Brought to you live stream by the Curling Store, courtesy of Strong Coffee Media and 45 North. This is Team McDonald versus Team Murphy and Ontario, Nova Scotia battle, tied 1-1 after, or sorry, not tied.
2-1 lead
2-1 in favor of McDonald.
Team McDonald. As we see this first stone here from Phil Crowell, the longtime lead for Team Murphy. Many a time competing at the Briar together.
Oh, I think I just heard Paul. Thank goodness you're on camera and not mic'd. Just us, Paul.
That's one of the beauties of having these streaming, where though we are not currently miking up the players, we can still hear them with so few games in play.
And with we've had 6 games on a lot of the time, so with only the 2 finals out there, it's a little bit nice. You can actually hear what the players are saying. Usually it's nice to hear what they're saying.
Depending on the result of how the game's going, that is usually how it is.
So pretty typical setup there. Tight guard from Scott, come around, or corner guard from Phil, and then the come around attempt again from Scott Chadwick. Doesn't quite bury. So it's available for Phil. Won't play a ton of weight, just enough to move it back in the rings.
So does leave it about 3/4 open, so opportunity here for Crowell. Just trying for it to curl. Will come up enough.
Oh, a little piece.
But will come just out the side there, so clean house here.
Gets the top 12, top 8-foot stone out, but just hanging around at the back 12-foot. I always like to pay attention to those ones that aren't out of play, aren't in the rings, but aren't through the back line. They come into play more often than you'd think as jams, or every so often you'll see something. I had one the other day kind of bounce off a couple stones and actually push an out-of-play stone in the rings, which was very interesting.
Oh, wow. Let me see a stone here from David Staples. Second for Team McDonald, looking for the draw behind. Will be heavy. Goes to the back of the 12th.
So Jamie's all right with that. Rock being back 12. He has hammer. It's probably not a scoring concern at this point. Why not try and use that tight guard?
So that will lead to Chris McRae being called to draw behind the guard, as you mentioned.
This one's a little light. Sweeper's working really hard just to get it in the rings or tight and usable. It's going to come up short, though. Looked like it was out a bit wider, but it really got some finish, maybe partially by virtue of its weight. It's a usable stone, though. The big one for Team McDonald, though, is they've got one right on the center line there they can promote. There isn't an in-turn draw anymore, but they could play an out-turn draw. I don't think they think it'll get that finish, so they'll play the tap instead.
So we see David Staples here on this, his second of 2 in this end. Looking for the tap here.
Don't want this to cross the nose, just want nose for the tap. Just crossed a little heavy. Sweepers didn't want to be on that, so that goes to the back 8 foot, biting the back 12. And a little bit of concern for Jamie here, just because there are those couple rocks out front and the shooter actually rolled a bit there. I don't love that yellow stone out front if I'm Jamie either. But he's not liking the fact that there's a couple yellows in the rings here.
Appears in this position that he will be calling for a bit of a hit and roll behind cover here. At least get contact on that stone. Crow working on it early.
They want to keep the shooter around behind the guards out front, so Phil trying to not get any roll on that. He'll get a little bit of a roll, but it is behind cover.
And that was
so
a great sweep there from Kroll.
Yeah. These guys work hard. I know don't have the normal double trouble up front with Scott missing. Scott and Phil have played together for a long time. Even before they played with Murphy, they were the front end for Chad Stevens and had some good success with that team as well. And they work very hard at their job, which is to manage the stones for the rest of the team after they've thrown theirs. As all front ends do. They're not the only ones that do it. This one over, that picked. That was gone.
And that's where I've always found it interesting there with the different team changes throughout the years. And this is the interesting thing with it being on this sheet, is that just a few years ago, it was Paul Fleming who was playing against Chad Stevens in the provincial tankard final on this sheet. And that went right to 11
Jamie, you mean?
Against Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
That was a bit of a heartbreaking final there, as it was a steal of 1 in the 11th that year for Jamie to win that one. And that was one of those cases where the front end, being able to manage the stones, it shows the skill that needs to happen.
Yeah, and Paul was throwing last for Chad in that game, or in that year.
Because it was just a little bit heavy that year, and that was the difference of who went off to Tim Hortons Briar, as we saw that stone there come to the top of the floor.
I'm sure Paul's family watching doesn't want the reminder, but that he's got a.
But again,
he's won since then, so he's all right with it.
A huge resume there for
yeah.
Fleming, many times to the Nationals. Former Ross Hearthstone Award winner and a Briar finalist. Always had a lot of fun many years playing against his son Jake on the junior circuit.
I think Jake's taken a break this year. He's in firefighting school, so if I'm not mistaken. He was playing with Paul Sunjak, playing with Ryan Abraham. Ryan's now in PEI, playing for Team Smith. The other Team Smith from PEI.
Yeah. So we'll see there. It looks like Paul's going to come down and just have a little discussion there with Jamie.
So chance for a few points here this end. Down one, but sitting 1 and 3 with a wide open number 2 rock. It was a good shot from Paul on his first to set this up. So I don't know what the end call was here. It looked like a play into the crotch of those 2 rocks. Similar weight to the first.
So a delicate weight here from Fleming. Crow and McCrae working on it here.
Need a little more curl. Oh, just trying to line up on the yellow. Yeah, not quite in the crotch. So to make it impossible to remove both reds, which I think is the case here. If Scott were to wail on the top red, it'd only pop out the side one, and that's no good.
So on to skip stones here, Scott McDonald. Yeah, very difficult position here for him to try to get to the button. A bit cluttered up there with those 2 stones of Team Murphy's.
And it looks like this is just a tap shot here to shut down the scoring area. Not looking good for Team McDonald, so a defensive tap. Their Yellowstone is pretty vulnerable here.
Really working hard on it just a bit, just dusting it off now, trying to get the tap. And just gets that. Doesn't appear to be shot stone. Shot stone is still the single. It looks like to red.
So I think the goal of that shot was to make it so that not both yellows could be removed, trying to just tap or freeze on the top there. I think they're looking at, Jamie's looking at whether he can hit that yellow pretty hard and lose both yellows. Have to hit it on the high side, the left side. This is another way to get rid of both of them. Angle that red in on the side. Looks a lot more difficult, but does the job a little easier if you make the run. Jamie's trying to bring that back one into play.
And it's definitely one of those challenging positions because it would be optimal if you didn't have the stone that is there on the center line, blocking that path. But again, if you're confident enough to throw some of the sides like you just mentioned, you can get a good result.
My my initial inclination is what Paul just indicated, hit on the high side. It was left when we were looking at the overhead, but the left side of that top yellow. I just don't know if the yellow that's hit would go far enough across the house, if it would make contact with the second red. It's not hard to get 2. You just tap that yellow, 2 reds there, but there still is a shot for Team McDonald and the Yellowstones to come. Jamie's trying to put himself in a position where no matter what Scott does, Jamie will have a shot for 3.
So big moment early in this match, to just trying to figure out the ideal placement for this stone. All 4 members of Team Murphy coming up to discuss.
The other thing about playing that shot is you may, if the red that's raised onto moves at all, may leave some kind of double on the reds, although I don't expect there would be if they sit beside each other. The other thing you look at is what yellow will be left with after you play your shot. So you want to preserve your chance to guarantee the 2 and try and bring 3 into play.
Yeah, it looks like they're just trying to figure out.
I don't like what Jamie's saying right there, just because I think it leaves Scott a shot. If he noses that yellow, sits there.
I do agree with you
there. The yellow
there.
stays, and there would be a pocket of reds to raise the yellow into. Unless he's talking about a lighter weight, not a hit weight, but just kind of freeing the stones a little bit and sitting the shooter out front, so not removing any stones. I don't mind that, actually, and red could sit 2. So this looks like more of a down weight tap.
So Jamie Murphy anticipating the call there from McDonald, so using a little bit of that information that he has
soft weight hit here. Keep the shooter in the top of the house. This has to curl though.
We'll get contact and we'll sit there too. But
Did he leave?
I think he left a treble. Actually, at least it doubled. The 3rd stone will probably jam at the one at the back of the 4, but you're at least moving 2 around.
Yeah, the triple's there.
This is running pretty straight, John?
Just high a nose. Actually, a little bit closer to center than where the broom is. All those reds can move.
They do say it is running fairly straight in this area of the sheet, and we have seen that throughout the 2 draws today. Final stone here from McDonald without the last rock. And we'll get those out and we'll sit 2.
Oh, loses the 2 reds. Hit it a little too thin. Does sit 2. I don't think there's a shot for 3 for Jamie, and maybe not even anything for 2, actually.
It's a very difficult position here because that center stone at the top of your screen, just close to center line, it really blocks any path toward those 2 yellow at the 4-foot. So it looks like Jamie's just going to go for the hit red onto yellow to try to score a single.
Yeah, I think that's about as good as he can do here. There's no way to roll in without losing your raised stone here. So straight hit on this one. Should give him the single. Bit disappointing because they thought so long about that last shot and didn't curl up quite enough for them and ended up leaving that triple.
Final stone here in end number 3, Jamie Murphy, the defending Nova Scotia champion. There, McRae and Crow with the sweep.
Going hard to keep this high side.
Will roll out, and it will be a steal of 1 for Scott McDonald out of Kingston, Ontario, to take a 3-1 lead in this match. After 3 ends of play, Jamie Murphy will have the last rock in end number 4. As the teams just prepare for the next end, we will just quickly update you. Veronica Smith currently leading on Jill Brothers after taking 2 in end number 3. Brothers and Smith playing end number 4 with that end in progress right now.
They started after this game, but what, a half an end ahead, or no, just started the 4th there. We did take a long time to play that 3rd end. There were lots of thoughts and decisions, and a bit surprising there. I thought Jamie would throw a little more weight on that last one. Took off on them in a spot that ran straight for Scott on the previous shot.
So as we start this end here, Scott Chadwick lead for Team McDonald. Book and Staples working hard on this one, getting it to the top of the 4-foot. There we go, top of the 4-foot, about halfway.
So game on for Team Murphy. We'll see the corner guard come up from Phil Kroll. Chris McRae on the right, Paul Fleming on the left.
Paul with a little bit of the stutter step there as he sweeps down there. Something I was a bit familiar with when I swept there. I wasn't too fond of using a slider while sweeping, so the hop, skip, and jump.
Shuffle.
Hop, skip, and a jump.
That's the biggest thing we teach the learn to curlers here at Mayflower when they're trying to sweep. Don't cross your feet, you'll trip yourself. Do the shuffle. Might not look pretty, but it keeps you safe.
Keeps you safe, and it is effective there.
Another draw here from the other Scott. It's a good thing Scott Zachary isn't here for the game. There'd be 3 Scotts on a sheet. We can't have that.
Tic-tac-toe 3 in a row, I guess. So there we go. As we see sitting 2 is Scott McDonald, and we see the second stone here from Team Murphy lead, Phil Kroll.
We'd like this one to be even. Ideal place, just with the way the curl is. There's enough curl that a high guard isn't protecting much. Not quite enough that a tight guard is useful. Now this one coming a bit deep, and that will go full 12. So 5-rock rule doesn't count on stones in the rings. The hit is the call.
So on the second, we see David Staples
Control
going
weight
for
here.
the hit, control weight. Sweeper's not touching it. Will stick there for the opportunity there to sit 3.
Do you? I think there's a triple there, but it's not a great time in the end.
Yeah, that's the first thing that I saw when I looked at that. The angles are there, but they're going for the double, it appears. So
yeah, it's a little early in the end to worry about clearing things out, and I don't think there's a huge risk of losing the shooter. But the idea here is to try and come up to the nose and get a little bit of protection for that red stone. There is a hole it can be poked through, but you can see Jamie's just trying to keep a little bit of shrapnel around, some jammable rocks.
So holding 2 shots is Scott McDonald.
I like this call. I like the peel here. The Murphy Redstone is 3rd shot. They're going to have to do a bit of work, and the guard is what's going to be protection for that 2nd or potentially 3rd point.
Big weight peel here from Staples. Gets it, rolls over and out, and clean house up front.
So Jamie can still put, we're on 2nd stones here, he can still put another guard up, but he's just kind of working through the end. The guard's going to actually go on the same side as the stones in the rings. Try and get a peel to catch something on the way by. And change the shot for the opponents as well as we head into mate stones.
As he comes to rest just short of the house. Does produce some protection there.
Yeah, it works kind of well.
Also kind of sets up a bit of a jam possibility if they played on that outturned side.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary for Scott to play what he's calling right now. I think the straight peel's okay.
I think the big question, though, is which turn you would want to throw, because if you're playing that out turn, that red probably jams on the yellow at the 8.
That's what I'm thinking.
So the question is, do you play that? Either way, there looks like there's a jam, so
yeah, I think they know
what jams the worst.
The yellow stones are kind of hurting them too right now. So if it jams on the back and they have enough weight to spin off, that's okay too.
Big weight here from Buke. Chadwick working on it. Gets the hit through the hole and will sit too. Great shot with the big weight there from Buke at 3rd stones for McDonald.
So for Team Murphy, no reason to panic here. They can. They still have a couple shots in the rings or stones in the rings. They're not their color, but hit the high one, roll in front. You just hope for a bit of a jam from Team McDonald. Team McDonald not missing much. They got into a bit of trouble last end, but got a bit lucky there with the triple getting set up for them. Haven't been missing this end though. That one just a little thin over curls.
Will hit, rolls over to be just over the yellow of Team McDonald's. A reminder to our viewers that at the completion of this end, we'll have a short message from our broadcast sponsor, the Curling Store. So don't go away, because 5th end action will be shortly following. So don't go away after the completion of this, as we see a stone from Jonathan Buke. Chadwick working on it here. Will get the hit, rolls over.
It's getting late in the end, so I think earlier in the end we might have seen Jamie have a different call if this were the setup. Maybe nose the yellow and try and sit on top, but we're almost on skip stones here. So this is the peel. Lose everything. He's going to try and get away from this end with a blank.
Big weight here from Fleming. Will get the hit, gets the double.
That's how you make some stones go away.
And that's one of those ones that I think I remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong there, that these stones that the Mayflower use are fairly new, if I remember correctly?
This is the second year of play.
Okay, so that would probably mean that the striking bands like that would have that little bit more action on it and would have the opportunity to get that movement.
Our bigger problem has been humidity, and doesn't matter how great your rocks are, if it's a humid conditions out, it makes it tough.
And that was definitely playing a factor in a few of the matches yesterday afternoon, especially. There was some issues because of between humidity and a bit of heavy rain outside here in Halifax.
We've got a better day today. It's a little chillier and no rain, blue skies.
But yeah, the ice making crew were very good.
Happy.
They were doing great work there to ensure that the games were a go on this TV sheet especially. So we thank them for all their hard work. Definitely went above and beyond to be sure that we were all raring to go. Sweepers working on it here, there. Crow and McRae will come to the top of the 8-foot.
I was a little surprised there on Scott's first. He threw a rock through the rings instead of playing a draw. And he's letting Jamie throw the free draw. I don't know if he wanted to see that path in the ice.
And that may be one of those. That may be one of those calls that, because of being a final, you kind of want to sort of let them make the next move a little bit and get that feel.
Yeah, that's true. It's just usually nice for Skip to get to throw a draw to the button, and he gave that one to Jamie to throw.
Gets a hit, rolls over to the side, will sit his single. So on to final stone here from Jamie Murphy, the Nova Scotia provincial champion, playing the Red Stones, down by 2. Big weight here, McRae and Crow with the sweep. Brooms up there from Fleming, will get the hit, roll out, and will blank the end to retain the last rock. That will be 3-1 lead for Scott McDonald going into the 5th end. So we'll have a quick message from our sponsor, the Curling Store, and we'll be back in just a second. And we welcome you back inside the Mayflower Curling Club here for the men's final of the 2018 Dave Jones Mayflower Cashspiel, presented by Stanhope Simpson Insurance and Alexander Keefs. I'm John Seidman, joined alongside by Selena Thompson for the call of this Jamie Murphy versus Scott McDonald in a battle for this year's men's title. Currently 3-1 lead for the team out of Kingston, Ontario, Team McDonald. Going into the 5th end, Jamie Murphy will have the last rock in this end. So, Selena, a few quick thoughts there as we get started with the second half of this game as to how it's gone throughout the first 4.
I think both teams have a good handle on the ice. Previously in the competition, a few teams just struggled with different paths, but it seems like both these teams have a good handle on things, and there's nice consistent speed. They know what's going to happen, and neither is scared of rocks in play, although we haven't seen a ton. The most we had there was in the 3rd end, and looked like Murphy was generating something there and just ended up a little disappointed at the end of that. But the game on here, it's a 4-in game, and Murphy down 2. I think he'll be going pretty hard for his few points here.
As we see the end started there with the stone from Chadwick at the back of the 4, sorry, correcting back to the 12 on his first. The guard had been put up there by Phil Crow on the corner.
There's one way to get rid of a useful corner guard is just draw around it. Don't see that all too often. If you ever go deep, it's kind of a useless stone, but that one stops just high of the tee line. Phil will put up the second corner guard. We don't always see the team with hammer going to the opposite side of the sheet with these corners. Sometimes you'll see them go to the same side of the sheet.
So as we see that placed well on the corner, just outside the house, above the 8, between the 8 foot and the 12.
So just a little reminder here, we are on the 5th stone of the end, so those guards can't be peeled. So how do you defend without being able to hit those protectors? Probably just put another rock in play. That's what we're seeing more and more often, is the team without hammer just putting a few rocks in play in the center of the rings. If Scott were to ask David Staples to draw to the center, there'd be a hit and roll behind the guards for Team Murphy, so that's where they're talking about coming around the corner again. The other corner guard that was just thrown from Phil is a little tighter to the rings and harder to get around without being behind the tee line. So I think the natural thinking is to come around high in the rings. Haven't seen a lot of teams call like a tick shot or anything like that, which could be an option as well. Tick and roll into the rings.
For sure,
It's
and
a
that's
hard shot.
that is one thing that, especially in the games here, at least on this sheet that I've been on, it's been a very difficult shot simply just because of the weight control needed, and teams haven't had as much confidence on that around the center to be able to get it effectively. So I was talking with Karen Skiffington on Thursday, and I'm curious your thoughts there. So with the 5 rock rule, and it's starting to become like needing to play a bit more aggressive, so to speak, to manage those guards. How do you think that the tick shot will become a bit more important as we start to learn about this 5 rock rule?
I'm thinking about it as I'm watching it. So for Team McDonald without hammer, they're not interested in a lot of rocks in play out front, and so that's why I think the tick shot might be a good option. I think we might see it more and more. For now, we're seeing the rocks being played into the rings because it just makes it that much more difficult for the team with hammer to have to deal with them. And certainly is the easier way to go about it, but you have to make your shots so well that you can end up getting in trouble if you have a slight miss there too. We've had a lot of conferences this game with the teams. We're taking that no timing rule pretty liberally.
Yeah, as we now reach just about an hour and 12 minutes into this match. Halfway through already, so both teams definitely wanting to be absolutely sure of each and every call. Sweepers working on it there. Buke and Chadwick trying to get by the guard. They will not. They will rub to the center line.
Well, they kind of got the tick. It's not what they called, that's for sure. Then the corner guard's still useful. The center guard is only guarding a stone back 12 foot. They really wanted that to be by. And that does expose the shot yellow stone. So a little unfortunate for all of the above reasons, really. And an opening, or maybe we should say an opportunity.
Of course, an opportunity.
For Team Murphy and Chris McCrae.
So going with the delicate weight here, it is Chris McRae. Sweeper's working on it, trying to get it through the hole.
That one
They
is
will do
breaking.
so.
Will they
Wow.
even get the yellow stone?
They will get to the yellow, but will roll the other way. Sitting shot stone still is Scott McDonald. The stone just thrown, looks like it's about half behind cover.
Scott just lining up. Is there, I don't think there's a triple on those. The angle might be a little too, goes into the yellow probably. The main concern is the guard out front. That's the farther out guard here that's going to help Team Murphy.
Big weight here from Staples. Buke working on it. There will get contact.
It's a great shot.
Good result there from Staples.
Removed the most useful guard, exposed the Murphy stone, and lost that center guard that wasn't really helping them.
And Staples has definitely been playing well in this match, considering that I guess he doesn't normally play in this lineup from what I've been told there.
He's just happy we know his name.
Yes, and actually that's one of two, so to speak, super spares that really had a great performance this week as well. Callie Moore, who is playing second stone for Kristen McDermott this week, filling in for Carly Jones.
Another
they
one
of course
our
coming to the
mixed national
semifinal.
Competitors, yeah.
They of course made the semifinals, losing in a tight match there to Joe Brothers. Great sweep
got that
there.
one by, and that will sit at the back of the 8-foot half, just more than half into the 12-foot. Scott's been lining up a lot of these up weight hits. We saw the last one he played, the flat or the in turn, and had the line great for it. If they know it'll hold pretty straight, you can give a bit of negative ice, sweep it out. Making any kind of a roll toward that buried red stone would be helpful.
Did you want firm or peel?
A little too thin, that'll go into the yellow and maybe spring up. But it's a long roll. A lot of weight here from Jonathan Buke.
Big weight here, goes across. Out the other side, will sit. Still shot stone.
So just too thin, and that was just sprung up and off. You don't see rocks go kind of up in the house, but that's an instance when you can throw that kind of weight. Hit a stone thick, redirect off another. Close, just missed the line. You see Scott beating himself up about that one. Chance here to sit one and set up for 2 points here for Team Murphy and Paul Fleming.
Paul Fleming here on his stone, looking to play to the back. Weight is up a bit, according to McRae and Crow.
They're recognizing the upweight ability of Team McDonald here and playing to the backing instead of just hitting.
Will come to rest just short of that stone, but sitting shot.
They were looking for back 8. Sweepers thought it was heavy, so that stopped a little early on them. No double there.
Glad you're enjoying the curling there. Multi-Apples on YouTube there. It's saying awesome curling. We definitely agree. It's been a good match so far. Thank you for tuning in.
Fans of either team might not like how tight the play is, but we certainly do.
Okay, I don't mind it.
Strategy, I think, is what makes the game of curling oh so fun. There was a game this morning, the quarterfinal, that we were calling. I don't know if you're watching that, John. There's a team that was up 4 in the last end and came down to basically the last rock, and it was all due to strategy.
Yeah.
Well, execution, of course, you have to make your shots, but just
Yeah.
up 4 and one team electing not to peel, to everyone's surprise.
Yeah,
That's a nice freeze.
yeah, definitely a nice result there from Buke.
So Paul will be looking to just replicate that freeze onto that stone that Jonathan just threw. Jamie's aware of that upweight ability, playing run backs and doubles and triples from Team McDonald. They can throw them too, but they're in the position to be aggressive and not the defensive hitting style, but well aware of where the angle needs to be on this yellow. Nose should be good. A little bit on the center line side, I think, is safe.
Sweeper's working on it there. McCrae comes down to the nose. It's
How's that for a good shot?
2. So update there with our women's final over on sheet number 3. It will be a single point for Jill Brothers, and the lead will remain with Veronica Smith, the young team out of Prince Edward Island, up 3-2 with the last rock in 6. They've definitely been on a high ever since their win in the semifinals over Tanya Hilliard. So we'll see if they can hold on and potentially knock off the defending champion of this event.
So they were looking at hit weight here for Team McDonald on Scott's first, but have elected to play a freeze. Shot from Paul was pretty good. That's 2 good freezes in a row. 3 really, including Paul's first there.
So again on skip stones here, Scott McDonald holding a 3-1 lead in this match after 4 ends of play, playing in number 5 here. Sweeper's working on it early. Their Staples right down on the ice practically.
This one is curling early. Makes me think it might be a tad light, that paired with the sweeping. It is not to the rings. I think Scott must have just pulled the string on that sweeper's new out of his hand. It was gone. So, for Jamie, that leaves a guard as well. Overlaps the red guard ever so slightly and leaves a chance to draw around, and this is setting up a 3.
That is definitely setting up a 3. And it really puts a lot of pressure on Scott McDonald for his final stone, because there could be more opportunities depending on if they're able to, if Team Murphy's able to force a miss out of the skip from Kingston.
Yeah, if this shot's made well and buried and no double or anything available, I don't think Scott has much of a choice. He probably will peel the open one and concede the 3. Take hammer in 6.
Sweeper's on and off here.
Really has to curl.
It will curl across center here, so they're just waiting for it to go. Starting to go now. It's really flying. Doesn't curl as much as they had hoped and will leave it open.
So isn't in a scoring position. The 2 yellows are out counting it, so I don't think it'll come into play. And Scott's okay, given what it looked like after his last shot, maybe giving up 3. He's just going to peel this one, give up the 2.
Little less room, John.
So big weight here from McDonald. Staples on and off. They're working it. Will slice it out.
Great shot.
So now draw to at least fully biting the 4 for the deuce to tie up this match.
And this was the chance for 2 that Team Murphy was looking for all end. They would have loved to get that 3. 2's not so bad. They're down 2, so they can square it up with a shot to the 4-foot here.
So final stone here for Jamie Murphy playing the Red Stones. Looking for his deuce to tie up this match. Sweepers dusting it there, just being very careful with this.
They're not playing to the backing intentionally, but it may be there if this is heavy. It'll just stop
Will
in
come
time.
to rest at the back of the 4-foot to score what appears to be, it would be the deuce to tie up this match at 3 apiece through 5 ends of play. Team Scott McDonald will have the last rock in end number 6, playing the Yellow Stones.
If you are joining us partway through the broadcast, thank you very much. You are watching the 2018 Dave Jones Mayflower Cashspiel presented by Stanhope Simpson Insurance and Alexander Keith's Brewery. Brought to you the lovely stream by the Curling Store and our camera masters Sean and Chuck from Strong Coffee Media and 45 North. We thank you greatly for joining us.
And of course, as this tournament does come to a close there, we of course have to give a huge shout out to all the great volunteers who have been working hard throughout the weekend putting this event on, from the Mayflower Curling Club, headed by tournament chair Brent McDougall, who really did a great job there, the whole crew. Especially with Brent not only organizing the event, but also playing in the event too.
Yeah, he's a bit of a crazy man, but somehow he makes it work. Probably going to sleep well tonight.
Yeah, so we thank everybody, especially Brent, for all the hard work that they did to put on this Dave Jones Mayflower Cashspiel.
And we're seeing our first tick attempt just miss.
So that's
Just
going
miss the red
to
stone.
they did have the miss there, but it sounds like they're fine with it. I think they said that works. So
Scoring in
comes to the
6,
back of the 8.
scoring in 6 tends to be fairly important. So you saw the high guard there from Phil Kroll. Now the tight guard. So Team Murphy, all indications or all signs point to they are going for the steal. You have to commit fairly early to this as the team without hammer. Put up a couple guards and would like to steal. You're probably going to have rocks in play and might end up giving a point as well. They certainly don't want to give McDonald a chance for 2. They'd like to steal or force. Have hammer and 7, probably try and blank. Come home with hammer and 8. Of course, Team McDonald wants the opposite. They want to score a pile here, force and 7, and come home with hammer. Even scoring 1 works all right. It's a little cat and mouse game. Both teams trying to force the hand of the other player.
And that's what it definitely is. So we always use the kind of the saying of curling being chess on ice, trying to force the move. As we see the stone here from Scott Chadwick will come to rest at the back of the 12, sitting second shot. So
Really
holding 2.
Unfortunate, they're trying another little chip to have that happen twice in a row. Very similar weight on both shots, and just misses both the high guard and the top 12 stone. So shaping up for Team Murphy to look like a good chance to put one in a good spot. I was talking to Karen Sullivan, Skivington earlier, and we were talking about the change in, or where it becomes important, where seconds traditionally were big weighters, but there's huge importance on this shot right here to be top house in a good position to steal. You can see the guards going away, and you want this stone in a good spot.
Absolutely, and I think it's something that we've really seen as an evolution of the second position ever since the 5-rock rule came into effect. Really kind of transferring a bit of that more, a little bit more finesse style that usually it would be more the characteristic of the lead.
Well, I think even
adding a bit of that to the second.
I think even since the 4-rock rule, because you'd get your lead, throw your two guards, and then it would be on the second to throw that. It's happening more on the second stone with that extra corner guard now, so it's even more emphasis on it. But it's a really, so you can see that red stone, it's shot. They're going to try and keep it buried the rest of this end, barring anything going wrong. But Team McDonald well aware of that, so they're going to have to come up with something as well.
So as we see the stone here from Chris McCrae, second for Team Murphy, sparing in for Scott Zachary. We remind our viewers that don't forget you can get involved with conversation on this game by taking part in our YouTube live chat. Send us a question or comment, or you can also send me a tweet. My Twitter handle is @JohnSeidman. So just a few ends left, so hopefully you're enjoying this match.
If you're on Facebook as well, the Nova Scotia Curling Association has a campaign. It's the Why We Curl campaign, and it's a chance for everyone in Nova Scotia to show off why you curl. Go figure. So if you use the hashtag, post a photo of yourself enjoying curling or demonstrating why you curl, and use that hashtag why we curl. And you saw the little montage earlier, and we'll see it at the end as well here.
And I may be wrong, but I think was there a contest there and that there was a little prize?
There was a contest. I can't remember who the winner of it was, though.
I have this feeling, judging from the reaction, that I think I know who won.
Oh, do you? Was it you?
No, I did not win. I did not win. I actually haven't even got. This
you
is the first.
Submit a photo.
This is the first time actually, and this is the weird thing about this season. This is the first time actually I've been into the curling clubs this season so far, which is weird. After a busy year focusing on my bowls, there, it was a bit slow getting back into the curling scene. As we get back to this game, we are on to third stones here.
That guard coming a little bit deeper. So I think Jonathan's gonna try the double peel. Doesn't want to leave the shooter out front if he doesn't make the double. And there we go, nicely done.
And the way that it did come to roll, it does look like it will get right on that perfect corner guard position there. I would jokingly call it the Tim Hortons coffee cup position, but of course on here the Orange Theory Fitness logo is just above the house.
So there you see the issue when you have a double peel made, that upweight ability. Now it's looking kind of good for Team McDonald, and all it takes is a little bit of a tight guard. Doesn't take much. So for Team Murphy, how hard do you want to go for the steal? Can you guard and risk potentially giving up 2? You don't really want to do that.
Definitely have to be very careful right now if you are Paul Fleming and Jamie Murphy as they discuss this shot halfway down the sheet. They're about halfway in between, so it's a bit difficult for us to pick it up on our microphones.
I think we're hearing Scott and Jonathan a little bit. But it's hard. You don't love hitting stones or making play on stones at the back of the rings, but those two are, you know, potentially jam stones for Team Nova Scotia, but they could be counters if that red stone were ever to leave. Jamie could peel the corner guard. Try and elicit a blank, but Team McDonald, I mean, sometimes you'll have a team take 1 in the 6 instead of blanking just to score in 6.
Definitely an important shot here in this late stages of the match.
So it's a choice. How hard are you going to go for the steal here? Are you okay with trying to elicit the blank or force?
So it looks like Phil Crow and Chris McRae going to come and join the back end up at center ice.
2 Crowells. I'm just kidding. That's Chris McRae on the right.
Yeah, that's where it always throws me off.
You can tell who the spare is.
Yeah.
But Chris, a knowledgeable curler in his own right.
Of course, curling with Kendall Thompson. I think I've seen him a few times around these televised competitions.
Yeah, there's a couple Thompsons. We're around. So this looks like tap. So they are going to, I think this is more a play for the force. They're bringing the play into the rings, but trying to get a more jammable rock. I don't think jammable is a word, but hopefully you know what I mean. More jammable rock out of the red.
It is a word in the curling dictionary for sure. Somebody call Merriam-Webster and we'll add that to the real dictionary.
Just like the jiggle spot, and shot, and the squirt shots, and all those fun ones.
So as we see there, Paul Fleming.
This is for nose. That works well. You can see that yellow isn't sticking around.
So we'll sit 1-2.
So while Team Murphy was having their kind of impromptu, not a timeout, but conversation in the middle of the rink, Team McDonald was probably talking about what they're going to do depending on what Team Murphy did. So the play here is a soft weight hit.
Third stone here from Jonathan Buke. Third for Team McDonald. Down weight. Gets the hit, rolls over to the side, will sit second shot.
They wanted that to curl up ever so slightly, I think, and unlock the back yellow. Have the raised stone there. Just tick the red that you see, the lone red in the rings. That red's fairly safe in terms of being backed by the yellow. And that's the force stone for Team Murphy.
So looks like just
Waiting for Jamie to come back.
Waiting for Jamie to come back. Looks like he just took a little run inside. And tripping over a few brushes there.
Taken out by the hair broom. Well, now we all know that Jamie went to the washroom. He's back. It's funny, I was thinking he was there and wondering why are they taking so long to call the hit, but
Yeah, I was kind of wondering there because I did see McRae and Crow dusting off the house at the delivery and trying to just get a little bit ready, but then it's like that's taking a bit of extra time.
so
but now he's back.
To sit 2 here is the goal. Again, with that shot from Paul, they're going for the force. It wasn't a great steal opportunity, and they did not want to give up 2.
Sweepers watching it here. There's a stone of Murphy. Gets the hit. Will knows to sit there too. Update quickly of our women's final between Jill Brothers and Veronica Smith. A steal of 2 in end number 6 for Jill Brothers. Gives her the lead back going into end number 7. Veronica Smith will have the last rock in the 7th end, playing the Yellow Stones over there. Coming down right to the dramatic point in this game there, Selena.
Yeah, we've got 2 tight finals. It's nice to see for the viewers. Exciting games. I know if you're watching the women's game, you're probably refreshing the scoreboard on worldgirl.com and maybe listening to us at the same time.
And probably we have some viewers hopefully tuning in from Kingston, Ontario, cheering on their team McDonald in this match. And of course viewers across Nova Scotia cheering on their provincial hopes, of course, Brothers and Murphy. And maybe some PEI ones too, we never know. Sweepers working on it here, Staples and Chadwick right to the button.
So there's 1 point, but 2 and 3 are Murphy Stones. Jamie could, as he indicated there with his broom, I love the idea of that call. Just hit high of nose. Keep the shooter around ideally and have 3 surrounding that 4-foot area. Even if you clip the back one, it's the Reds will stay if it comes up close to nose. The only real unfortunate way to hit this, and this is what Scott McDonald wants to have happen, and the reason he played that shot, is to have Jamie come up to nose, have this yellow jam on the back, and have a double for the 2. So they need this to stay high side. And it is curling. Just with the back, but that's exactly what was called.
We'll sit 3. Looks like as we've been talking there, the live chat on YouTube has gotten some activity there. So I thank you for tuning in from Alberta there. Trina Alsbach. She also asked, why isn't Scott, I'm assuming Scott Zachary is what she's asking about, is why is he not playing for Jamie Murphy during this final? I believe he had a commitment with his family. I believe his wife is getting her master's today.
Oh, I didn't know. I assumed it was business related.
I had heard some talk there around the club there.
His family is represented here. Scott's parents are watching, and Jerry is often here for these games. Scott's wife, they just got married this summer. I shouldn't say often, always here.
And
got a lot of family support from Team Murphy, but
so final stone here, facing 3 here.
Need full 4.
Full 4. is what you need, and they will get the side of the button. They're just covering the pin to score their single and take a 4-3 lead in this match.
What a wonderful curling end. Both teams putting a lot of pressure on each other with some excellent shots being made. I don't think Team Murphy could have put more pressure on given the situation, and a nice result there for the McDonald rink to make that shot for the single, score in 6. So leading now 4-3 going into the 7th end, and of course Team Murphy will have the hammer here in the final, the men's final of the 2018 Dave Jones Mayflower Cashspiel, presented by Stanhope Simpson Insurance and Alexander Keith's Brewery.
So thanks again, everybody, for tuning in once again. Looks like we're getting a few little thanks for the great commentary comments, and we appreciate that. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. And I've been also noticing there, someone asked what club is Team McDonald from. The curl out of the Cataraqui Golf and Country Club in Kingston.
I actually know the pronunciation of that one because I played in the Travelers Nationals at the Cataraqui.
Cataraqui, okay.
I always thought Cataraqui, but I was corrected. Cataraqui Golf and Country Club in Kingston. Beautiful facility, just celebrated their 100th year in 2017. It was a fun spot and some wonderful people. And I believe Kingston was just announced as the
host, I believe, of the 2020 Tim Hortons Briar.
Yes. So
that will be exciting for them. First time in a few years that they've hosted. They previously hosted, most recently, I believe it was the Scotties Tournament of Hearts a few years ago. I also won't forget there as we start the 7th end, one more comment that I have to get in. My Lawn Bowls friend Daryl Hill, one of my friends from the Dartmouth Lawn Bowls Club, tuning in. Definitely agree with you. Great game. Thanks for tuning in there, Daryl.
So the strategy here, John, Team Murphy down 1. They do have hammer. I don't think they're going to want to score here.
Yeah, they're definitely going to want to keep this end clean, really try to go for that deuce in the final end. At least that would be what I'd be doing if I were in the house down there calling this game. Just having a bit of a debate there is Scott McDonald wanted to be absolutely sure here. Oh, apparently, according to what I just saw there, it's been a while since since Kingston held the Tim Hortons Briar there, as they will be hosting in 2020 there. The last time they hosted that event was 1957. So
another center guard going up here.
Yep.
We have 2 there, so they're setting up for the steal or the force. I always call those stones that Team Murphy threw there at the back house, at least with the 4 rock rule, I always called that the insurance rock. It's the one that's like, well, if you have a chance for 2.
Yeah, definitely. Just having the ability to just have them left there, because you never know. Sweepers working on it here, McRae and Fleming.
Once it's by the guard, they had to sweep to get it by and then switch the sweeper to get that last little bit of curl. That buried. Great effort from the sweepers on Phil
Definitely
Stone
great
there.
work there.
He threw the sweeper's weight. That's what we ask for.
Yeah, because a lot of people, especially in previous games, have very much probably thrown a little bit too much weight sometimes on this TV sheet. Being able to remember to let these sweepers who are extraordinary at what they do their job is always essential.
Sleeper's calling T on this one, so a little bit heavier than what Phil would have just thrown, and that one just grabbed something actually made the freeze. They might have wanted to keep a bit of an angle on that. It's dead buried now. So Jamie's kind of thinking, well, do we want to try and get 2 or do we want to blank? It's decision time right about now.
Because it's one of those situations there where if you try to now go for your 2, you're pretty much trying to force to a single, and then probably will be trying to go for a win really in an extra, really.
Yeah.
If it goes in the ideal perfect scenario for either team. If you're scoring a deuce as Team Murphy here.
So Jamie recognizing there might be a chance for more than just 2 or 3, just because their rock is so buried there, if they can get a couple in that 4-foot area. But they're talking about keeping the blank alive, of course. That was the plan at the start. So I think they're indicating their back red is out counting the Yellowstone in the top 12-foot, and that's why the multiple's in play. I didn't notice on the overhead, but we'll see it later. The peel is a safe call here. Protects their ability to manipulate the stones in the rings, as they are buried right now. So the peel there from Chris McRae.
Okay, so as we see, we'll now see David Staples, the second for Team McDonald, jumping into the hack. We'll just quickly send a little shout out. I just saw here on YouTube, David's mom and dad are tuning in from up in Ontario there. I just saw that message from them, so glad you're tuning in.
I think Scott McDonald listening to that conversation from Team Murphy, Paul and Jamie chatting and realizing like, oh, there might be multiple in play here, so might want to hit this back stone. They won't replace that center guard.
So it does appear to be running there just that little bit. Will get the hit, stick right there.
And both teams having that balance of defensive aggressive. That shot basically ends up saying, well, you can get 2. We'll go down 1 with Hammer coming home. A lot can change, but if everyone makes their shots and we see a series of hits here, maybe an attempt at a come around, but Jamie might be looking at a draw for 2 on his last. This one hanging wide though from Chris.
We'll get the hit, we'll roll out there just a little bit, still sits in 12.
It's tough, it's not second shot, it's out counted by the top yellow, but if anything happens and those yellows are removed, one can come into play.
An update here as we see the stone here from Jonathan Buke. Blank ending in number 7 between Jill Brothers and Veronica Smith. Smith will have the last rock in end number 8, looking for the title with the last rock. So Buke gets the hit, stays right there. Still sitting 1 is Jamie Murphy.
Jamie wants to call a draw in that 4-foot area. There's big risk in doing so if you ever leave it open or wick off one of the front ones and leave a hit and roll into the center. The end's taken away.
Yeah, it's definitely really needing to stay away from that for
yeah.
sure.
Well, maybe on your
What are
last
they doing
shot.
if we nose that back there?
The only time if it were me, again, as you said there, was if you're drawing in that area, it will be on your last rock, because you don't want to get anywhere near that and give the opportunity at a double takeout or any form of takeout whatsoever.
don't see a lot of those 12-inch brownie brooms hanging around any longer, do we, John? But Paul still throws with it.
Yeah, he's been known for that, and it definitely, if it works well for you, it works well for you. Between the brownie brush there and the, I've seen a few of the old corn brooms there that they use for some of these Manitoba teams, especially recently. I've seen those. It's a bit different, but it does the job.
It's a throwing device. So that stone, pretty good position. It's didn't curl as much as the team wanted it to. Actually leaves a hit and roll to the back 4-foot here for Team McDonald. They wanted that one closer to the 12-foot to make this roll more difficult and more flat to get to the 4-foot. Certainly didn't want to leave it above the tee line, so good job from the sweepers to get it there, but needed a bit more curl out of it.
Buke here at third stones. Gets a hit, sticks right there.
So for Jamie here, it's do you want to play a roll in? Do you want to roll away? They're cautious about playing into that 4-foot. So this is actually the freeze call. Same shot that Paul just threw. And this is trying to generate a bonus point.
Sweepers going on it here, there, McCray and Kroll.
I have to admit, this looks light to me, doesn't it?
Yeah, sweepers are gonna need to go here.
Oh, that's really hard work from the sweepers. It's not gonna stop for second shot, but
definitely well done there from McCray and Kroll.
it's a risky rock nonetheless. And I don't know if it'll be can be squeezed out the side. We have a jam rock on the side there. I would have loved that to be just a little more high, a little more center line or high side. Great sweeping from the brushers to get that there, though.
Yeah,
I thought that was like not in.
Absolutely.
Scott's going to go for it. That back yellow is kind of hurting them at this point. They wanted a roll, this Team McDonald did. So Scott didn't indicate where he wants his shooter to go. Suspect nose or a little high side would be okay. Leave the red in behind. But out count it.
So on to skip stones here. Scott McDonald, the skip out of Kingston. Skip of this number 16 team in the world. Without last rock here in the 7th end, his first of 2. Big weight here. Gets the hit. Rolls to the side of the 4-foot, sitting 1. But comes out to the open side.
Bit of a miss there. They wanted to roll right in behind. And I think what happened that they hit a little too thin to get the roll in behind, a little too thick for the red to squirt out the side. So it looks like, and we might get a shot of the overhead here just to see if that red on the side is out counting the top yellow. I think it is.
It does appear like there's a bit of red, yes.
This is a hit to sit 3 for Jamie Murphy. He can actually roll his shooter under. That was very close to excellent, and unfortunately for Scott McDonald, a miss.
Big opportunity here for Jamie Murphy late in this match. Trailing by 1, but with the last rock, sweepers working on it here, McCray and Kroll.
This is a down weight hit. They want to get the curl. With soft weight, you have to hit less of the rock to make the roll.
Gets a hit, sticks right there, will sit his 3.
Got a little roll. Is it enough? Can Scott get under that?
It's a very difficult position there.
This has been a tremendously played end so far.
A tremendously played game so far from both teams.
So Scott's in. Can't see enough to play any weight at that. We just saw Jamie struggle to get that last little bit of curl. So this is a delicate freeze into the pocket. Actually, sitting on the nose would be okay. I think it would still be second shot. He's okay with conceding 1 or 2. Tough freeze here, though, from Scott McDonald.
Final stone here for Scott McDonald without the last rock here in end number 7.
This one's curling.
Sweepers working on it here, Staples and Chadwick. Will come down to it. Bounces up a bit, so it will be currently holding 2 and a draw to, actually correction, it can be a hit just down weight to that stone for 3, potentially 4.
Same weight Jamie just threw. You might kiss off, but he'd love to just get to the inside. You can ricochet off your own you have the catcher. So this is a shot for 4. That was a very tough draw and almost made perfect.
And that could be the turning point of this match.
I like just control.
Yeah, calling for control weight just to get to the inside and enough to get his 4 or at least his 3. So we'll see how it goes here. Final stone for Jamie Murphy playing the red stones. Waiting for it to curl there and Sweepers on it. Gets the hit, will remove that, but will score his 3. 3 red for Jamie Murphy to take a 6-4 lead going into end number 8. And Scott McDonald, the skip out of Kingston, will have the last rock in this final end of play. So definitely a turning point in this match. Both matches coming down, nearing their conclusion.
Wow. Just that little extra weight there from Jamie. They changed it from a board to a control and just held a little bit. They're doing a good job managing the stones, waiting for that break, and then the outside sweeper. That was Phil in that case. Nice to score the 3, though. They'll be disappointed not to have that extra point, but up 2 coming home.
Sweeper's not touching this here as it comes into the house, just biting the button. Our women's final is nearing its conclusion, getting close to skip stone, so we'll keep you up to date on that. They will be most likely finished their match before we are finished ours, so we'll be able to let you know as it happens. Buke just dusting it off here.
So this is 5 Rock Rule 101. Corner guard up from Team McDonald, and I suspect we'll see a second one. Karen this morning had a good way of putting it. If you need to score 2, you need 1 guard. If you need to score 3, you need 2 guards. And for Team McDonald to take the win here, they want to score 3. I don't think they want to play an extra end if they can avoid it. And Team Murphy will do their hardest to force them to a single. That's the benefit of that extra point, that 3rd point, and why they would have liked that 4th point is a little bit of wiggle room. They can force to a single and be safe. And even giving up 2 points, it's tied in an extra with Hammer.
So as we see a stone here from Scott Chadwick. Looking for another corner guard. A note once again there, as we are in final end, it is currently a 4-3 lead for Jill Brothers over Veronica Smith going into the skip stones. So that game will be at its conclusion shortly, so we'll let you know as we see it. It's down to the final few stones, but Jill Brothers sitting 1 in the back of the 8-foot over there. Chris McRae here with Crow working on it early.
You want this one to stay on the center line. It's over curling. I think Chris might have pinched that one a little bit because it swept out of his hand. We'll try and get a biter out of this one now. Not quite. So the shot stones are open. Double isn't necessary here. The important thing is where the shooter goes.
So definitely important to get that roll here.
And Scott's not even planning to have David remove the back stone, just half a rock with down weight. Might touch the back one and shoot it to the back 4-foot because they are right on top of the button right now. This one is hanging. Might consider rolling the other way at this point.
Gets the hit, jams there, will roll over to the side. Shot stone remains Jamie Murphy.
So contrary to historic play where you might have only had 1 guard out front, you do have the 2 plus the 1 red stone. A little bit messy there. Some guards for the team with Hammer. Chris can see the stone that is second shot, the McDonald stone. Second shot. So he's hitting. Want to keep the shooter around.
Here. Sweeper's not touching it. It will hit. Opens up some possibilities there for McDonald.
There's a little pocket to draw into. I think if the pocket weren't there, we might see another attempt at that hit and roll behind the corner situation. But that is a raisable red Murphy stone. So this is just a freeze call.
So David Staples here working on it.
Needs to curl. They were sweeping this the whole way.
Trying to get to the pocket. Buick and Chadwick working on it. Work every inch that they can get. And just above the pocket, but good result there from Staples at second stone.
just trying to hit most of that yellow stone and actually, they say kill the back one. So raise the yellow onto their own red and just release the freeze that was made.
Fleming here.
Sweeper's saying this is a little heavy, so it might track a bit straighter. Starting to break across the line now.
I'll quickly mention there as we await this stone here from Jonathan Buke. Just looks like we have a viewer from one of the smallest curling clubs in Canada, the Looney Curling Club in Chaffee's Lock, Ontario, a one-sheet curling club up there.
Neat.
So we say hello to Greg Patterson tuning in. We'll say they're trying to just be absolutely sure here, looking for across the face on this stone here from Buke.
I think you can hold this spot. I'll give you a hammer if you want. We have to be on the other side.
So Team Murphy didn't want the red to spring quite as far as it did. Gives a chance to pop the reds open more for Team McDonald.
Sweeper's working on it here. Chadwick gets the hit, removes the two Murphy stones.
That was a very well managed shot here. Wow. Sitting two with protection.
And this will be a dramatic finish here.
A frozen buried stone at the back. So I think nose on this red, running it back onto the yellow, and the red that is raised will spring behind the guards. The shooter will stay out front if this is hit on the nose.
Fleming here, his final stone of regulation play.
Need this to come up a little bit.
Gets the hit, noses it, appears that it will sit the single.
That raised stone sticks around. It is partially open. So you see the call there from Scott McDonald to hit and roll across behind that yellow corner. Looks like it's about 3/4 exposed. The camera is not quite behind the sheet, so it's a little more open than it appears. Hitting 3/4 is probably too much to make the roll. That's what the shooter's looking for as Jonathan sits in the hack.
As Jonathan prepares to throw, we'll let you know there is the final stone of the 8th end from Veronica Smith over there on sheet number 3, facing 2. So she'll have to draw for an extra end. We'll need the button. So Buke gets the hit, rolls out the side. Sitting 1 will be Team Scott McDonald.
There was a late yes sweep call, and I think it's because it was tracking a bit, running straight, and they were actually trying to hit it thinner and redirect back onto the back stones. Ended up rolling over the top.
And it will be handshakes over there in the women's final, as it's a steal of 1 in the final end. The stone of Veronica Smith just going a little bit wide, so the title will go once again to Jill Brothers.
And congratulations to Team Brothers. That's 4 years in a row for the Dave Jones Mayflower Cashspiel. We'll do some presentations downstairs. Wonderful to repeat that 4 years in a row. Congratulations to Team Smith for the finals finish.
So, yeah, our champions there in the women's, Jill Brothers, Erin Carmody, Sarah Murphy, and Jen Brine. And their fifth, they're listed as well as Bliss Joyce. So, congratulations to them.
So Team Murphy there, after the Jonathan's last shot rolling out, still have to deal with a buried stone. And so Jamie just looking for the freeze there. Didn't curl up enough, which is surprising. We've seen some movement to the wings there. Leaves it open for a hit and roll behind cover for Scott McDonald. And Scott needs this to secure the 2 points. And ideally for him, he'd like to set up a 3-under, but two is looking good at this point if he can make this shot. Basically a heavy draw, just needs to promote that red Murphy stone back a couple feet.
So first of 2 here from Scott McDonald in this 8th end. Looking for his deuce at least to force an extra. He needs 3 for the win. Sweeper's working on it early. Really need to go there. Staples and Chadwick will rub off.
Tough one. Jamie's didn't curl up enough, and then that one wrecks on the guard.
So that will leave Jamie Murphy calling for the hit. And then if that hit's made, correct me if I'm wrong there, Selena, but I don't really see much of a possibility at that deuce based on the placement of that Yellowstone with the red.
Yeah, you're right, John. If the shooter stays around, and of course that's what Jamie's planning for, if he rolls out, there'll be a shot for 2, but this sticks around.
Very difficult.
We'll have to put our thinking caps on.
I'm sure McDonald already has put on his. There is his final stone for Murphy without last rock.
This one's tracking a bit. Extra weight on that, and the shooter will roll.
There we go, and it will roll.
Too far.
It will be, looks like a little bit of frustration from the Murphy rink there, as it will be a shot down to the red stone at the back of the 8th. Remove it and sit right there, and you will score the deuce to send this game off to extra ends.
The same shot as Scott just had. He could choose to play the hit, but he did just throw this. Might add a few pounds to make sure it doesn't over curl again. And this is for the tie.
Final stone here for Scott McDonald, the skip out of Kingston, looking for his deuce, looking for the extra end.
Extra weight on this one, so they need to sweep it to curl.
Will get to the nose, will score their deuce, and ladies and gentlemen, looks like we're going to extra time here on a Sunday evening at the at the Mayflower Curling Club, and it sounds like, okay, so
Gonna
it
move
sounds
the
like,
stones
yeah,
up.
okay, there, Paul Fleming suggesting there, and I like his thinking there. We're going to be playing back the exact same way that we just played.
If you're gonna move them up, you move them up the sides, Paul. Switched back over. I don't like to break down the pebble any more than it already has been.
So, hope you all are enjoying this exciting match between Scott McDonald, the world number 16, against Jamie Murphy, the world number 36, and Nova Scotia provincial champion. We certainly enjoyed bringing it to you here live on both cbcsports.ca and streaming around the world on the World Curling Tours YouTube channel. Jamie Murphy will have the last rock in this extra end, playing the Red Stones.
And after a 3-game day for both of these teams, they'll be happy to to come off the ice after this here. It's been a very well-played game so far at the 2018 Dave Jones Mayflower Cashspiel, presented by Stanhope Simpson Insurance and Alexander Keith's Brewery. Brought to you by the Curling Store. And camera coverage courtesy of Strong Coffee Media and 45 North. Just one more end, guys. They've been troopers all weekend, bringing you all of the shots on sheet 4. Every draw has been streamed. We really appreciate it, and we're glad to have so many people tuning in and hang with us for one more end. We're probably not that disappointed to be watching one more end of great curling.
Yeah, and what a game it has been. So definitely the viewers will enjoy the great curling here. Just that little bit extra here on a Sunday evening as we reach 5:20 local time here in Halifax at the Mayflower Curling Club. Once again, I'm John Seitman, joined alongside by Selena Thompson for this now into extra ends between Jamie Murphy and Scott McDonald. Kroll going for the tick shot. Will just miss that. Roll out the back.
Gets a hair of it. So we're tied. This is a very different strategy than it would be in the last end. Team Murphy just needs a single point for the win here. So they're going to want to keep this very clean. And Team McDonald, well, they need to steal. So we'll have the second corner guard, or second center guard, sorry, go up from Scott Chadwick.
So Scott Chadwick here, the lead for Team McDonald. So getting a question here on our YouTube channel asking why aren't they playing the extra end shooting from the home end. I believe that was a suggestion there from Paul Fleming, and both teams did agree to that.
I believe it would have been for the pleasure of our viewers who are watching from the home end. Might have missed a rock.
Looks like as they were bringing the rocks back, they may have had one of the
Phil didn't have his
Red
second stone.
Stones go over on the sheet 5.
You think they'll play an insurance rock here? Did Jamie call the shot like they did in the 7th end?
Looks like they're calling top 4, top 8 there.
They come around. So the guards are a little higher. It's a halfway and a high guard, so there's room to come around. The insurance rock in the 7th end was also to keep the blank alive. So this is for the win, and if Phil has anything to say about it, he wants this to be the rock that gets that point.
Fleming working on it here. McRae joins him.
Love this to bite top 4. It's going to stop top 12.
Just bites the 8-foot there, sitting 1.
A little bit unfortunate because stones in the top 12 in this case will often act as a guard for the other team, the team without hammer. One nice thing is it didn't totally bury, so it's accessible.
So on to this second stones, we have David Staples with his first of 2 in this extra end. Calling it back 8 weight. Looks a bit heavier than that to me. And Staples not happy about that one. You can hear a bit of the broom slam further up on the sheet.
He knows the importance of that stone. With the guards being fairly tight together, a double peel is available. That one, David really wanted that to be higher in the house, in the 4-foot area. That is the steal point. Don't get me wrong, there's lots of shots to come, but every shot is critical.
McRae with the peel, going for it here, gets the hit, removes both. Will leave his shooter the high stone.
So we'll have some staggered guards here. See if David Staples can curl this around the top guard and just slightly overlap the one in the rings as well. Keeping some separation between the top red guard as well. The closer they are together, the easier the double peel is.
Calling top 8 weight, so that would be enough to tap the stone of Jamie Murphy's. Does come to rest just short of that, just rubbing off of it. So sitting shot stone is Jamie Murphy at the top of the 8-foot spiting.
Not exactly what Team McDonald would have wanted, but it's another stone in play, another stone in the rings, high in the rings. But Jamie's not going to mess around. He's asking Chris to peel the top stone. The only thing that's going to hurt them is these stones out front.
Gets the hit, removes it. Will sit still shot stone at just biting the 8-foot. So on to third stones here for Scott McDonald, Jonathan Buke. A reminder, we are in an extra end here. Tied 6-all.
It's been a very tense game so far. A lot of great shots being made. A little bit of frustration there. I think Jamie Murphy had a good chance to lock things up there in the 8th end, and actually had a chance for an extra point in the 7th to go up by 3 instead of 2. So, but he's no stranger to situations like this. Just has to stay calm, and has Hammer coming home. And for the McDonald ring, keep just putting pressure on. They're going to need to put a stone closer to the button, this Team McDonald. They're talking about running things into the rings, playing the peel on the left side of center line that we're looking at. Paul likes to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. He's asking for not the straight peel, for the angle into the yellow in the rings. Because I don't think Paul thinks there'll be another chance with the guard quite this tight to the rings. Needs to curl up a little bit to make contact, but
will remove that stone of Team McDonald, so still shot stone.
Rolls the shooter out as well. Great shot, Paul Fleming. He wanted that shot, so I say to the player, if you want to make the shot, you should make it.
I just had a question in on YouTube, and Selena, you can answer this. Steve Leon asking, can they choose the end they throw to in most events, or is this just a rule of this event?
Haven't taken a look at the official rules of this event. They may have had some instruction from behind the glass. I don't know.
Or it may have just been a bit of a gentlemanly decision between the two
I think
teams.
It was more that, yeah. Typically there would be a rule. I don't know that it's been spelled out in this event, but I can be corrected if someone knows. I suspect, highly suspect, it's courtesy to the fans.
Of course. Not just their
And
fans here.
If neither team objects, well, I don't see the issue.
So on, again, third stones here, Paul Fleming. Gets the peel here. will roll out, sits shot stone still.
So we're down to skip stones. We'll see one more guard here from Scott McDonald. He'll have to put a draw in on his next. You don't want to put this close to the red stone and leave a double on the front rocks, or any kind of play to run the red back into the back yellow. Scott could play the come around on this one, but that brings play into the rings, gives Jamie a chance to open things up. Strategy becomes pretty straightforward when things are clean and open.
So as mentioned on skip stones here, Scott McDonald, the skip out of Kingston. Tie game, but he does not have the last rock. The last rock belongs to Jamie Murphy.
And are they bringing this one in, John? I thought the call was for the guard, but this is coming in.
Yeah, it does look like they are bringing it in, coming around that stone of Team Murphy's, but does not curl enough. I don't believe so. Will come to rest T-line, side of the button.
Jamie's not going to mess around with, this is why I was saying that for Scott, I would probably still be throwing that guard on his first, because you give Jamie a chance to bring the play into the rings and open up the front. So this is the short run back. If Jamie were to think about playing straight on to the one that was just thrown, he could tick the front and miss it and give Scott a chance to put a better piece of protection up front.
First of two here from Murphy, looking for the run back. Gets the hit, will roll and will sit his two.
A little thinner, he would have clipped the back one. Not that that's going to come into play with the shooter staying out front, but where do you hide? That's the question. That's why
it's very difficult, especially with the shot stone currently sitting above the tee line.
Yeah, you can't freeze. You can't freeze and be shot.
Now this
Could
is
corner freeze, but it leaves a peel or a rip. This is a double call to sit two.
This is a double call, so this is definitely because of the big weight ability there of Scott McDonald. We've seen him throw the heat throughout this match, so we'll see if he can make it on this final stone without last rock when it counts. Final stone here, looking for the double, will roll over, and it will be the game and the title to Jamie Murphy. Paul Fleming, Scott Zachary with Chris McRae filling in at second stones in this game, and Phil Kroll, your Dave Jones Mayflower Cashspiel champions, presented by Stanhope Simpson Insurance and Alexander Keys Brewery, along with our sponsor as well, Rockhead Wine and Beer Market. So a few thoughts there as we just finish up this game there, Selena.
What a game. Very much a pleasure to watch. Good sportsmanship between the two teams. And thank you to the Curling Store for bringing us the broadcast, along with Strong Coffee Media and 45 North.
Yeah, definitely thanks to them and to all the volunteers who helped put this on at the Mayflower Curling Club. So there you have it. Jamie Murphy make the final 7-6 over Scott McDonald. He is your Dave Jones. His team are your Dave Jones Mayflower Cashspiel champions. So again, on behalf of our sponsors there and everyone who put this on, and my broadcast colleague Selena Thompson, I'm John Seitman saying so long from the Mayflower Curling Club.